Hello and welcome to Learn ADS in 5 minutes. This is tutorial 9 and in this tutorial we will talk about how to use vendor library components in ADS for schematic design. So till now, if you recall in all the other tutorials we have been going through, we have been using the components which are ideal in nature from lumped component library, and we are designing all our circuits using these ideal components. But sooner or later in the design process, we need to look at various vendors who can offer these SMT components such as inductors, capacitors, or even transistors such as BJT, FET for our design. So the question is, how do we get that into ADS? So let's look at various ways how we can use those vendor models in our circuit design. Now, in order to understand the library concept, every major vendor rather provides ADS models on their website. And some of the old models are also available within ADS. So if you let's look at the internal models in ADS. So if you go to this directory path, see program files, key site, then to the ADS version you are using. Under that, you will find a library called OA libs, and then we have component libs. So these vendor component models are provided in archived form. So let me pick one of them. Let's say we pick RF transistor. I can simply copy it over and I will place it into a specific folder here so that it is easier for me to access those. So once I have this zip file here, I could either unzip it using a regular unzip programs, or even ADS can help us to unarchive it. But let me go ahead and unarchive it here. So using the unarchive method, now I do have a folder here inside which we have certain library structure. Now we will go ahead and use it. Similarly, I have downloaded a zip file from Murata website, which is their latest library components. And I do have an MMIC, design kit, or what we call as PDK here. So now we will add all these into our ADS workspace so that we can use the components provided in that library for our circuit design. So let's go back to our ADS. Now anything in ADS in terms of vendor components can be managed by using design kit. If the design kit you are using is in zip form, you can use unzip design kit option to unarchive it. However, we have already done the unarchive for one of the design library. But notice one Murata library was in zip format. So we can go ahead and click on unzip. And once I go back to the same folder where I kept my libraries, under here I do have Murata library. So I can go ahead and open, and then it asks for target folder. I can go ahead and pick any of the folder where I want to keep that unarchived. Now ADS, if you notice here, is unarchiving the model. And after unarchive, it sends that it's a library and it asks us whether you want to add that library to current workspace. So if we say yes, what you will notice here in the schematic, if you look under this library palette, we do have now Murata components available. So if I click on this component list, I have all the library components, and any of these components we can place here. And to assign a model to this component, we can double click, open that component. And again, we can look at the part which is there, and we can select any of the part which is available, and rest of the parameters will get updated. Now different vendors do these library modeling differently, so sometimes the structure will be different. Now, so these vendor models are having a palette bit library. However, if we already have unarchived, we can simply go to manage library. Under manage library, every directory will have a library definition file. So we can click on this button called add library definition and go back to the folder where we have kept this library. So just now I showed you I unarchived this RF transistor kit. So I double click on it and there's a lib.def. Every PDK or every library for ADS will have this file and we need to simply browse to this file. So now we see we have two library definition file. One comes from Murata, one is from RF transistor kit. Similarly, if I have an MMIC PDK, I can go back to the folder where I have kept that PDK. And now using this PDK folder, if I go inside and browse through, I do have lib.def. So if I simply click open, and now all the libraries which I have are added here. So now I have this MMIC PDK. I do have library components from Murata. However, the RF transistor doesn't show up here because again, as I said, it depends on vendor how they create the library. So if you click on this icon, which is opening the library browser, all the libraries are under read only, and that's where we will find all of our components. So in this RF transistor, this is what we call as a list-based library for which we don't get pellet in a schematic. However, from here we can search our component. For example, if I'm looking at certain component, I could just type in the name and then the component list pops up and we can select what we want, right click, place component, and we can place that component into our schematic. So in some of the other videos, we'll talk about how to really use these components for our circuit design, and we will convert this ideal filter into a vendor library component filter. Well, that's your 5 minutes in learning how to add vendor component libraries for your circuit design in ADS. Wish you best of luck in your circuit design and see you in next video. Thanks very much for watching.